Have you ever pondered the unthinkable? What if Trump really wins the election? Let's delve into this scenario. Picture this. The year is 2024, and the US is in the throes of another heated presidential election. According to Stack Data Strategy, a surprising shift is on the horizon. Their polls suggest that former President Donald Trump could secure a win in the Electoral College despite losing the popular vote. This would not be an ordinary victory. It's a situation that has only occurred 3 times since the turn of the millennium, a president winning the election without securing the popular vote. It's a unique scenario that adds an extra layer of complexity to the democratic process. But how could this happen? Well, the answer lies in the key states. The polling data indicates that Trump could potentially turn the tide in his favor by flipping crucial states that were instrumental to Biden's win in 2020. These include Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. If these states switch allegiance, Trump would secure enough electoral votes for a victory. However, this political forecast is not without its controversies. Trump currently leads the GOP race, but he also faces 91 felony charges. These legal challenges could significantly impact his campaign and the GOP's decision to nominate him. If Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis receives the nomination instead, the pollster predicts a substantial loss to Biden. Despite recent Democratic victories, President Biden has been unable to distance himself significantly from Trump in national polls. This close race is a testament to the country's deep-seated political divide and uncertainty. Such a victory would indeed be a political paradox, but what would it mean for the rest of the world? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this potential scenario and its global implications in our next segment. Or let's turn our gaze to Russia. What could a Trump victory mean for this global player? In his previous term, Trump was often seen as having a somewhat congenial relationship with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. This was a departure from the frosty dynamics that characterized US-Russian relations during the Obama era. Trump's approach has been a subject of intense scrutiny and speculation. There were times when he appeared to side with Putin's word, even over that of his own intelligence agencies. Some critics argued that this was a sign of undue influence, while others suggested it was a strategic move to foster better relations. But what would a second term mean for US-Russian relations? Given Trump's track record, it's plausible that the Trump administration would continue to seek closer ties with Russia. This could mean a softening of sanctions, more bilateral talks, and perhaps even joint initiatives. However, this potential rapprochement could also trigger a shift in global geopolitics. The European Union, for example, which has had strained relations with Russia over various issues including the annexation of Crimea, might find itself at odds with a more Russia-friendly US administration. Moreover, we mustn't forget the potential implications for NATO. The alliance has been a bulwark against Russian influence in Europe, but Trump has often been critical of it. A closer US-Russia relationship might undermine NATO's unity and effectiveness, with ripple effects on global security dynamics. It's also worth noting that while Trump may seek friendlier relations with Russia, this doesn't necessarily mean Putin will reciprocate. Russia has its own interests to protect, and these may not always align with those of the US. In essence, a Trump victory could herald a new chapter in US-Russian relations, one that might be marked by cooperation, but also fraught with uncertainties and potential power shifts. A potential alliance with Russia could drastically reshape the global landscape. But what about Ukraine? As we consider Ukraine, we must ask, would it find itself once again caught in the crossfire of global politics? Ukraine, a nation delicately balanced between the West and Russia, has long been a geopolitical hotspot. Its position is precarious, reflecting a long-standing tug of war between influences and interests. Now, imagine a world where Trump returns to the White House. What would that mean for Ukraine? Trump's previous term was characterized by a rather unconventional approach to diplomacy, a style that often left allies and adversaries alike guessing his next move. With Trump back in power, Could we witness a resurgence of tensions between the West and Russia over Ukraine? Or might we see a shift towards new diplomatic strategies? Remember, during his first term, Trump's policy towards Ukraine was marked by controversy, with allegations of quid pro quo and impeachment proceedings that rocked his presidency. Yet, despite these controversies, Trump also showed a willingness to challenge Russia, supplying Ukraine with lethal weapons, a move his predecessor had avoided. A Trump victory could signal a continuation of this assertive stance, potentially escalating tensions in the region. Conversely, Trump's transactional approach to foreign policy could open the door for new negotiations, new deals, new strategies. The unpredictability factor that comes with Trump could lead to a recalibration of power dynamics not just in Ukraine, but across the global stage. But let's not forget the Ukrainian people, often overlooked amidst geopolitical maneuverings. They too would be deeply impacted by a Trump victory. Would they see renewed conflict or perhaps a chance for improved relations with their larger neighbors? While Ukraine's future remains uncertain, let's shift our focus to the east. What would a Trump victory mean for China? Scene script. China, the economic titan of the East. Would a Trump victory reignite the flame of economic rivalry? In the hypothetical scenario of another Trump term, the potential for renewed trade wars and economic tensions between the United States and China is a conversation that cannot be overlooked. During his previous tenure, Trump's administration was characterized by a more confrontational stance towards China, with an emphasis on leveling the playing field, protecting American industries, and addressing intellectual property concerns. This confrontational stance led to a series of tit-for-tat tariffs that impacted global markets and economies. The world watched as the two largest economies locked horns, causing ripples across international trade relations. The tariffs imposed during this period affected a wide range of industries, from agriculture to technology, with consumers and businesses bearing the burden of increased costs. Now, if Trump were to return to the Oval Office, it is plausible that the economic rivalry between these two global giants could intensify. The former president has already proven his willingness to shake up established norms in global trade. And while his tough-on-China stance was popular among certain sections of the electorate, it also raised concerns among economists and business leaders about the potential for long-term damage to the global economy. In the face of a possible renewed economic rivalry, global markets could brace for impact. Uncertainty would loom over international trade, potentially causing fluctuations in stock markets and affecting the stability of global supply chains. Moreover, such economic tensions might also influence the strategies of multinational corporations, potentially leading them to rethink their operations and investments in both countries. That being said, it's also worth noting that a Trump victory could potentially lead to some form of negotiation or even a new trade agreement. The former president is known for his unconventional approach to diplomacy and his emphasis on deal-making. Therefore, while the path might be fraught with tensions, it could also lead to unexpected outcomes. As economic tensions potentially rise with China, we must also consider the Middle East. Specifically, what would a Trump victory mean for Iran? Iran, a nation often at odds with the US. Could a Trump victory potentially reignite old conflicts? Let's delve into the past for a moment. During his first term, Trump adopted a hardline stance against Iran, famously pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal. This move was controversial, to say the least. It was a decision that was met with criticism from many quarters, who feared it would escalate tensions in the Middle East. Trump's approach to Iran was characterized by maximum pressure, a strategy that involved heavy economic sanctions aimed at crippling Iran's economy and forcing them back to the negotiating table. However, this strategy was met with resistance from Iran and instead seemed to fuel further animosity. Should Trump return to the Oval Office, there's every chance that this maximum pressure approach might be reinstated. The implications of this are far-reaching. It could potentially lead to an escalation in tensions, or worse, a military confrontation. Iran has repeatedly shown that it won't bow to pressure, and a renewed onslaught of sanctions might only serve to inflame an already volatile situation. Additionally, Trump's unwavering support for Israel could further complicate matters. His administration was known for its pro-Israel stance, a position that often put him at odds with Iran. Given the historical animosity between Iran and Israel, Trump's overt support for Israel could further strain relations with Iran. However, it's also worth considering that a second Trump presidency could provide an opportunity for a fresh start in US-Iran relations. Trump has previously expressed a willingness to negotiate with Iran, and there's a chance that his return to office could pave the way for renewed dialogue. But this would likely hinge on a shift in strategy, moving away from maximum pressure and towards diplomacy. In the end, it's difficult to predict exactly how a Trump victory would impact US-Iran relations. What we can say with certainty is that it would likely herald a return to a more confrontational approach, with the potential for heightened tensions and even conflict. The global implications of a Trump victory are indeed vast and varied, from potential alliances to renewed rivalities. So, what have we learned from this exploration of a potential Trump victory? We've journeyed through a landscape of possibilities, each with their own set of implications. A Trump win could mean a renewed alliance, potentially altering the dynamics between Russia and Ukraine. It could leave countries like Ukraine caught in the crossfire of geopolitical tensions. On the economic front, Trump's victory could intensify the rivalry with China, affecting global trade and economies. We also considered the potential for a new conflict to arise, with Trump at the helm, possibly involving Iran and Israel. In essence, we've seen how a single election can ripple across the world, impacting countries far beyond the United States and affecting global relations in unpredictable ways. Trump's distinct personality and controversial policies add to the uncertainty, making future predictions challenging yet intriguing. Whether these potential outcomes fill you with fear or anticipation, one thing is certain: a Trump victory would undeniably send ripples across the globe.